This video contains spoilers about the MSQ and of course discussions about that, so I advise that you complete your 5.3 patch MSQ before watching this video. You've been warned. Alright, so hello, Meoni here and welcome back to another video. This time I wanted to discuss the idea of potentially the teaser in 5.3 towards new jobs. Now, obviously that relies on using footage from the MSQ, like I've said. So hopefully you've all watched that independently. You've actually gone and completed that. It's a fantastic storyline without me getting into too much detail. So really, what the big thing at the moment is the idea that they introduced the concept of at least 3 new jobs or classes that could potentially be iterated in the future. The first of which that we actually see is that of Chirurgian or Chirurgian. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Let's call it Chemist for short. Now, this all basically happens with a little, as I like to call her, little Meoni, because she looks kind of like my character if she was really young. Adorable. We enjoyed showing her off on the stream and giving her a demon voice. It was hilarious. But essentially, she's always wanted to be a warrior of light, basically. When Elidibus brought the idea of encouraging more people to become warriors of light in the Crystarium, it affected everyone, young and old. And of course, this child wanted, Riki wanted to become a healer, basically. But she wanted to use potions and salves and other methods that are already employed in the Crystarium to heal other people. Now, this isn't something that we're completely alien to. We've seen Thancred be supported by the Chirurgians in the Crystarium. We've seen other characters nurse to health through the application of ointments and other kind of ways of basically healing wounds. They are still predominantly ether based, considering they're using the ether found within raw materials and things, but it's a lot of potion making, stuff like that, and applying that stuff. Now, how that could relate in how to become one of these is quite easy, considering that a lot of people, when they think of a healer, they're thinking of magical healing, right? But when I say, if you were to compare it to compare a Chirurgian to the idea of you playing a bard, okay? If it was just a bow, you would still be firing arrows, right? Now, bard obviously has magic associated with that. Without the magic, it would most likely be just called archer. Well, the way I want to see it is see Chirurgian as the idea of potentially magic through those potions, or at the very least, if there's no magic involved, then the healing of just using those potions. Now, I'm not saying that they have to go lore crazy and accurate, simply because bard doesn't, right? We don't have a finite, a small amount of arrows. We have infinite arrows, right? So we could have a healer using potions that they splash on people to heal them, stuff like that, and there wouldn't actually need to be ammunition for that. There wouldn't need to be a satchel of potions. You would just throw them. This is something that they could do. They've employed the idea of projectile throwing before, reticles, targeting people and perhaps brewing something or applying a heal over time, literally with bandages or something. This is something that could be done. So I found it really interesting that they decided to see that Elidibus had inspired all these warriors of light, but Riki, she just wanted to heal people, but she didn't want to be a conventional healer. So they were really giving it heavy during the MSQ for 5.3 that this could be something that we might eventually get. Of course, this is teasers. We have nothing confirmed and it's purely speculation, but I can't help but play through this particular patch. Like many other people in my my section of the community have come to me and said, Meoni, it's very likely that the idea of Chemist might be true. So a lot of people have theorized that Chemist could be a good option. They've talked about Chemist in the past, obviously in other parts of the game, not just this expansion. Obviously, I do have to mention that there are many examples that people could bring to the table. So whether or not it'll actually become a healer is another question entirely, but it's a good sort of point towards that, considering it was shown that a warrior of light, essentially inspired child, would be able to become that. It was actively encouraged for her to grow up to become a warrior of light, to fight the darkness back, to fight evil, basically, to become an adventurer and heal with chemistry. So that's the first one, the one that's like would fill the box of a healer for the next expansion. That's where my money probably is going to rest now, just because of how thick they laid on that storyline. The second one, then, we have to kind of talk about the spoilers of the first dungeon. So the first boss that we come against that actually relates to this is the Necromancer. Okay, she basically, I don't know if you've read the actual text as you're fighting this boss. She's beautiful, by the way, but she has some incredible skills. Obviously, she's summoning corpses out of the ground to attack you, corpse explosions and stuff like that. So she's demonstrating corpse explosions. She's demonstrating the summoning of ads to attack you. She's demonstrating AoE effects that would be similar to a black mage or summoner or something. It looks really, really cool. It's a lot of green. We have, for example, they use the green slimy stuff that's used in, what is it, Void Ark? No, it's Weeping City of Mark, right? With the boss that drops the Megadeth puddles, right? Casts Megadeth and you have to be zombified to survive it. I remember now. Sorry, my brain's all over the place, but I'm in a state of I need to record this here and now whilst it's still in my head. I think you can appreciate that. But there's lots of things demonstrated in that fight that look so fluid and could be easily replicated into a Warrior of Light job. That is further backed up by the fact that in the lore of this particular fight, as you can see in the text as you're fighting her, she says, I'm trying to reach out to you. I'm paraphrasing here, but not exact quotes. I'm trying to reach out to you. I'm a Warrior of Light. I can't reach you or something. Basically, she's not controlling her actions, but she is very clearly, in the plot line, a Warrior of Light pulled from another shard, as Elidibus himself has mentioned. So these are all the enemies in that dungeon. The spectral Warriors of Light are from other shards, pulled here in this particular moment to fight against you because you're the Warrior of Darkness. That's the best bit about this. So this boss is actually kind of incapable of understanding what's going on, but at the same time is fighting against you. And her minion text as well, because you can get the minion from there, says that she's a Warrior of Light basically from another world, but her story will probably never be known, right? I've yet to look at the triple triad card for her, but there's even more lore pointing towards that. So the idea then, if we wanted a caster, which was on the tip of everyone's tongue, so we were going to probably have a healer and a caster in the next expansion, well, my money is now safely set on Necromancer simply because of how much they talked about it and how much, emphasis was placed in that. So that's the second class. So we've got a Chirurgian or Chemist. We have a Necromancer, which would be a caster DPS, and all of that stuff in the fight looks amazing, by the way. I would love to get corpse explosion and stuff like that. It reminds me of stuff from World of Warcraft slightly. Like with a Death Knight with the plague stuff. Anyway, right? And then the third class or job that could potentially be a candidate that they showed in the same dungeon, right, was Berserker. Now, the last boss is literally a Berserker. He, I believe, is also a Warrior of Light or some sort of from another shard. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody from other shards has to look humanoid. That's the thing we're forgetting here. A lot of people are like, oh, he's just a monster. Or she's just a monster, the Necromancer, but they can be in any shape or size or form, right? They could have been corrupted. They're part of, they're not the full person from the other shard. It's only their souls, right? Only one part of them. They are fractured. They've been ripped out of their world to be placed here by Elidibus against their will for us to defeat them because we have no option. This guy pummels everything. It's absolutely incredible. Like, the two massive attacks, the massive, just the swipes on the floor in front of them. All of these things could translate really well into an actual job, I think, in my opinion. Whether or not we actually want a Berserker as an actual job, considering a lot of people would say, oh, well, isn't that basically a warrior, just a DPS? Well, probably, yeah. Counter the fact that people have been asking since they saw Gaia to have somebody that wields a hammer. Combine that with the fact that we have, obviously, Nero Tolskeva uses a hammer, and he was at the start of the game. You could potentially argue that they would be classed as berserkers, in some way, to some degree. So there is the potentiality that we could see a form of Berserker in the game in the future, or at least a hammer wielder, that direction. So if it's called Berserker or something else, it looks to me like a big two-handed weapon, or even two-handed weapons or something like that, is a good likelihood. And I know it would be another melee DPS, but I don't know. I honestly think that's a possibility. So we've got at least 3 things that were mentioned in this particular patch for 5.3. There was no other mentions as far as I could tell. I was digging around, and as I was live streaming it, I spent 7 hours live streaming it, picking pieces apart, and I read everything that we could as we went. It does appear that they lean very heavily, at least they lean very heavily towards Chemist and Chirurgian. Okay, I would probably stake a lot on there being Chemist / Chirurgian, or whatever you want to call it, like a first aid type potioning healer in the next expansion now. As for the caster Necromancer, I would love that. The idea of Necromancer has always been on people's memories, like of things they would like to see. Maybe that's something we could see in the future. As for Berserker, that's the one I'm leaning slightly against the idea of, simply because it's just something demonstrated, but at the same time it has the same credence pretty much as the other 2 to be mentioned. Anyway, did I miss something from the MSQ? Did you find something I didn't? Is there any more lore related to this? Maybe you've got a triple triad card, maybe you want to talk about this. Let me know in the comment section. Let's fill this with speculation. Bear in mind, obviously, this video is spoilery, so try to be, discreet of who you share this with. It does show footage from the 5.3 story, but I really wanted to talk about this today, and hopefully you did too. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. I'm really excited to see what you have to say in this one.